Today, I'm proud to announce that I will be very soon signing an executive order requiring colleges and universities to support free speech if they want federal research dollars.
What could be a groundbreaking decision? Supreme Court justices will hear arguments today that could decide the limits of what you post online.
What does being an American mean to you? We conducted a survey for the students at Fishers High School to answer that question themselves. The freedom of speech was ruled the most important right of the First Amendment. What right guaranteed by the First Amendment is the most important in your opinion?
I would have to say freedom of speech, just because it relates to all the other ones. They all kind of go hand in hand with that. I think freedom of press is really important because it ensures that we have a democratic state, and it ensures that people are educated within a democratic state. And I think speech is probably the most important because it is like overarching, and it really is important to like press, religion, assembly, and all the other ones. So I think freedom of speech is the most important.
That's freedom of speech to express your freedom of religion, but I think with that is the freedom of expression comes with the freedom of speech, and that's why that's so important.
The freedom of speech was established in the Bill of Rights when it was ratified in 1791. The First Amendment gives the people of the United States the freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. The Bill of Rights has been around for quite a while, and we saw that it still is relevant in today's society.
Should freedom of speech have any restrictions?
I don't know. I would say that, like I said, I think with social media nowadays, you have a lot of people that feel like freedom of speech means that they can say and do whatever they want, no matter who's getting hurt or if it's justified or not. And I feel like that can be harmful, obviously. But at the same time, you start putting restrictions on it, and then it's a fine line. You know, you start saying, well, you have to maybe restrict this or that, and then it opens up, a whole mess. But I think you just have to be careful when people are expressing their beliefs, whether it's to get a reaction or whether they truly believe that. You just have to go into it knowing that whether you agree or disagree, that people have that right, and that even though you don't believe in maybe their belief, is that it's their right to have it, and you don't have to get upset or say something destructive or harmful back.
Although we are entitled to the freedom of speech, there are many limitations put on that freedom to protect others. In Schenck v. U.S., it was established that a restriction is only legitimate if the speech in question poses a clear and present danger.
There are many instances in which your freedom of speech can be limited, including threats, obscenity, violence, and defamation, and also in schools, public places, and government buildings.
Well, you got a couple court cases that deal with that. There's Tinker versus Des Moines, where students wore black armbands to protest the Vietnam War. They got suspended, took it up to the Supreme Court, and eventually it was ruled okay unless it's interfering with the school environment, the school learning process. And my favorite case is Morse versus Frederick, where an out-of-school student at a track meet held up a sign that said "Bonk, it's for Jesus," and he got suspended for it. And as that case worked to the Supreme Court, they ruled that the school has the ability to limit off-campus speech, which, like nowadays, can be applied to social media.
As the symbolic torch was carried through Juneau, Alaska on its way to the 2002 Olympics, Douglas Public High School let students stand on city streets to watch it pass by. When it did, Douglas student Joe Frederick unfurled this banner, "Bong hits for Jesus."
However, people of the United States are entitled to the freedom not to speak, specifically to not salute the flag, per the West Virginia Board of Education versus Barnett in 1943. People are allowed to use certain offensive words or phrases to convey political messages because of Cohen versus California in 1971. And people are even allowed to burn the American flag in protest because the freedom of speech also covers the right to engage in symbolic speech. This was proved in Texas versus Johnson in 1989 and in United States versus Eichmann in 1990.
Miranda v. Arizona was a case in 1966. This case was a prime example that people have the right not to speak. The Supreme Court ruled that detained subjects must be informed of their Miranda rights, which include their right to remain silent and their right to an attorney. What does it mean to be an American?
Means everything to me. I always have an American flag out front of my house, and I always will. It makes me prideful. It makes me happy to live here and know that there's nowhere else in the world I'd rather live.
Do you think the Miranda rights are necessary?
100%. Yep, absolutely. Just as everybody has free speech, they have the right not to incriminate themselves as well. You know, being a police officer now inside the schools, I deal with a lot of juveniles, so it's very important that, you know, that I don't coerce them or to get them to admit something that either they did or didn't do without, you know, their parents or proper counsel with them. And that goes for anybody. You know, you can't start just asking people questions and force them to give you the answers that you want to solve the crime at the time.
As you can see, the freedom of speech has been demonstrated and limited in many different situations. We reviewed court cases, talked to students, a government employee, and even a law enforcement officer. We got many different viewpoints on the First Amendment rights, and it is clear that the freedom of speech does in fact represent what it means to be an American.
What does being American mean? Being an American.
That's your first question. What does being American mean to you?
Restart. Okay. What does being an American?
You can't even do it. Let me see this question first off. I need to judge your question. What is so funny? I don't either.
We have to be professional.
Miranda v. Arizona was a case in 1966. This case is a prime example of
Let's go! Freedom of speech! Megan.